No, it isn't. So I will record all of my lessons. Nice thing about me recording my lessons, if you happen to miss class for some obscure reason, you should be able to watch the lesson, which isn't quite as amusing as being in my classroom. I get it. but let's have some fun with this. Let's see what we can do to give you a different understanding of math. Some of you who might have taken pre-calculus or calculus already, the term derivative, I'm sure you heard it. I let you leave the derivatives dirty. And you're like, what? You don't need the algebra to clean it up. Okay? Which is nice. So, we're going to go back. We're on this very first page. You with me on that far board? So that far board is just a book. On the board that's directly in front of you is what I will write on. So we have x squared minus 49. X squared minus 49. Now, I realize some of you will be like, oh, Stirrup, that's easy. It's x plus 7, x minus 7. And then me saying that, some of you are going, dude, how do you do that so quick? Because I've taught for 29 years. So I've seen the same stuff. All right, so I want us to play with Desmos and factor with Desmos because, well, factoring in Algebra 1 might have been tough. You might have had some teacher taught you the box method, the factor, and then you went and had your tutor teach you the diamond method, and it's really just a box that's turned on its side. And then you might have somebody teach you the dream method of factoring. Then you might have somebody who taught you the guess and check method, or the 90-10, or the 80-20 rule of factoring. There's all of these different things of factoring, which are great, but they're tricks. So look at problem number 1, x squared minus 49. I mean, I think that's relatively simple. It's called the difference of two squares. But what if you didn't remember that? And what if you were stuck in a situation? Now, I will assure you, me having a degree in math, I've never been out in the real world and saw x squared minus 49 and went and factored it. It didn't work that way. Okay, but what is math? Math is a way of thinking. Okay, and I truly believe this. The further that you can get in math, the more logical thinker you will be. Okay, my Aunt Diane. Let me explain to you who my Aunt Diane is. Thank God she is not related to me by blood. She married my uncle. Because if I had her genetics, I knew I'd be dumb. Aunt Diane will start a story that is the never-ending story about something that she saw. Now, last time I saw Aunt Diane, the iPhone wasn't out yet. There's a reason I don't want to see my Aunt Diane, because I can't even imagine how her conversation would go, because she saw a meme that's going to turn into a 16-hour story. So she used to start her stories of, you know, today on Oprah I was watching, and it was like, ugh. And I don't think the woman breathes when she talks, because her conversation would be, so today on Oprah I was watching the story, and the story was really unique because there's this young girl that was on the show that she was able to play the piano, but she didn't know she wanted to play the piano. She wanted to play the trumpet originally, but her father said, no, play the guitar. And then when she wanted to play the guitar, her dad got mad because she broke one of the strings. And I think it was the G string, but it might have been the F sharp string. I'm not sure which one on the guitar she broke. And you're just going, I'm losing intelligence because the story won't end. And there's no point to it. I'm sorry if you have an Aunt Diane that you love truly. Good for you. It's not my Aunt Diane, so I can make fun of her. But my point on that is the thought process you learn in math, the thinking that you learned with math, allows you to take a look at a situation. Now, I'm just like y'all. You send me something funny on InstaFace, Snapchat, whatever, TikTok, whatever, and it's like a guy that's, you know, riding his bike, he flips over his handlebars and the front wheel falls off, and, you know, he breaks his arm, he's holding his arm up, he's going the wrong way. I'm laughing at that. That's funny. Okay? I'm that person. But to take a step back and really understand a problem from a larger picture means if you have a grander understanding of it. Now, let's look at x squared minus 49. I'm going to cheat this system a little bit. I'm going to go y equals. The reason I want to do y equals is I have an xy axis on this decimal. Agree? It's called the Cartesian plane. And things you should know about the Cartesian plane, you have quadrants 1, 2, 3, and 4. You have the origin at 0, 0. And did anyone ever tell you why the Cartesian plane? Quadrants 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go counterclockwise. Does anyone know why? Somebody might have taken calculus or pre-calculus. Anyone know why? So think about that for a second. Let me go back on the screen. XY axis, I'm just going to go to this. XY axis is labeled quadrant 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are Roman numerals. If you don't get that, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyone know why it goes that way? Anyone want to take a guess at why it goes that way? Golden ratio? Could be. Some ideas. This is the simplest of simplest things. But nobody knows why. Well, Descartes, his name actually is Descartes. If you look at the spelling of it, it looks like Descartes. Who was a mathematician? This mathematician was left-handed. So it was easier for him to label it like that, for him to graph. That's the only reason it's labeled that way. And I've come across mathematicians my entire career. Hey, do you want to know why that goes backwards? Oh, yeah, well, it's because, when you're doing polar coordinates, the inverse factor of this guy. No. So, well, why is it? Descartes was a left-handed. Any of you left-handed in here? Can I ask? So does that make more sense to you being left-handed? All of us who are right-handed going, no, I think it should go 1, 2, 3, 4, because it's easier for me to do that. It's easier for you to do that. That's the whole reason. But there's all these grandiose reasons like people want to think there's such a hard concept to this, and it's such a simplistic answer. But unfortunately, people don't know that. It's kind of goofy. So let's go back to Desmos. So this XY axis is not quite as glamorous as the one on Desmos. Agree? All right. So I want to do x squared and then minus 49. Okay? We'll go with the darker A. So some of you might recognize this fancy-dancy shape and say, oh, it's a parabola. And some of you might recognize the shape saying, oh, it's decreasing from negative infinity up until where the vertex is, and from the vertex over, it's increasing. Some of you are going, I don't know what the heck you just said. Some people might look at it and say, I got a parabola that I have a low point on. In calculus, you might call it a turning point. Some people might call it a critical value. There's all kinds of words that we could call it, but it means the same thing. But there's only 2 points up on this entire graph on here that I'm interested in. We graphed x squared minus 49, which basically means at 0, negative 49 is where the vertex is. But I don't care about that. I care about this point here and this point here. What's special about those 2 points? It crosses the x-axis. I love it. That's all it is. It crosses right there. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to cheat this system. Okay? We realized it said factor each, and it just had x squared minus 49. Where did y come from? Well, because I wanted to use the xy axis. I wanted to have the whole thing there, so I just had y equals. So each and every one of these problems, other than number 6, that's up on my screen right here, can be done this exact same way. Number 6, we got to get a little goofier, but I'm going to show you how to do it. So my 2 most important numbers that I want to deal with on this problem are -7 and +7. And this says factor each. So when you factor each, I'm going to do this. So the answers up there were -7 and x equals +7. Agree? We're going to cheat math. We're doing dirty math, but it is going to allow us to build an understanding of math. All right, so for this top one, let me erase this real quick. This one, I'm going to add 7 to both sides. That's going to give me x plus 7. I'm going to subtract 7 from this one. It's going to give me x minus 7. So my answer to x squared minus 49 factored is this. X plus 7, x minus 7. Gosh, didn't you wish you could go back to Algebra 1 and do it this way?
No, we have a special speech, so that's show the kids that we have this. You can multiply the first and the last number together and list all the roots. Realize that one's positive, one's negative, and you can go through this.
No, the real idea of this math is where does this cross the x-axis? Use that information to work yourself backwards. So friends, talk me through how I and you might go through number 2 on that page. Hey.
Hey.
You're always welcome to chill in here.
I know, I'm interested. You know.
Have a seat. Comfy seat too if you want it.
Careful.
All right. Talk me through number 2. What am I going to do? Using Desmos, how am I going to do it?
Y equals x squared.
I like this. Thank you. So take a look at it. We're going to back it up. Y equals x squared. And then what is it? Plus 4x minus 32? Okay. And again, we have another parabola. And on that last problem, what was the most 2 important points that we dealt with on this parabola? Intersections on the x-axis. So when you're using Desmos, which you get to use exclusively, and there's going to be the one kid who, can I use my graphing calculator? Sure. But Desmos is so easy. So let me ask you this. My 2 solutions to this problem are -8 and +4. So if x equals -8, what is the binomial, the thing in parentheses that I'm going to use? If x equals -8, what is the answer? What is the binomial? X plus 8, right? And then I have +4, so x equals +4. So what's the binomial with x equals 4? What's the binomial that goes with it? X minus 4. Wait a minute, we're factoring things. And I'm not having to go through those rules. You're not having to go back 3-4 years of Algebra 1, 5 years of Algebra 1, whatever you took Algebra 1. When your teacher had their favorite way, their favorite trick to teach you math. Yeah, but it works. Oh, I understand. No, I got you. I've taught the lowest math to the highest math to everywhere in between. So let's take a little bit of time just to talk about this. Who am I? Me. I've taught math for 29 years, and I haven't worked a day in my life. Make that work for you. I love what I do. This is not work. This is not hard. And I'm not saying like, oh, I'm a math genius, so this is easy. No, I'm not saying that. I'm trying to inspire, motivate, get you to think a little bit. It's not hard. I enjoy it. I have 2 daughters and my wife. My wife is a professor at CU Denver. She teaches chemistry for engineers. Yes, I'm also certified to teach chemistry, but I will never teach chemistry being married to my wife. She's like, no, you're doing it wrong. They need to know the whole periodic table. What's the valence number of this and that? I'm like, can't we just look at the periodic chart that's or table that says on the board? Well, that doesn't tell them everything. It tells you the S, P, D, and F orbitals. And you're like, wait a minute, chemistry, don't do this to me, Stirrup. I have two daughters. I have one daughter. My oldest daughter, her name's Leah. She's 22. She's in graduate school at KU. She graduated from the University of Nebraska with 3 degrees. She graduated with Spanish, geology, and archaeology. Now she's at Kansas doing forensic geology. And you want to know something else kind of cool? So she likes to play in the dirt. Okay, she's that kid. I was proud of this kid. First child I had born, happy, and all of a sudden she's in the backyard eating dirt. I'm like, dude, that's my kid. So she and her team, her graduate school team, were doing an archaeological dig site down in Lone Tree where the light rail ends, across on the east side of I-25 where the light rail crosses back over on the opposite side of Skyridge Hospital. You know what I'm talking about? She's down south. Their team made a discovery. They came across an ancient site. They found human remains. And you're like, oh, that's so sad. The human remains carbon dated back 14,000 years. Kind of different, but that's kind of cool. I have a younger daughter. Her name's May. She's a junior at Purdue, majoring in Spanish and biochemistry. And she, when she graduates, wants to go into the Peace Corps. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Go to graduate school first. Dad, I'll go to graduate school after Peace Corps. Okay. My oldest daughter, this is how bad of a father I was, or am. Sure, how can that be? My oldest daughter, 3 years ago, went and got married. Okay, how long ago did my daughter get married? 3 years ago. Her father, mother, and sister found out 2.5 years ago that she got married.
You guys didn't go to the wedding?
Weren't invited.
Why'd she?
I didn't find out for 6 months. She was married for 6 months and I didn't even know. I clearly suck as a dad in this case, but I saved a bunch of money. Didn't have to pay for a wedding. Oh yeah. Like I was a little upset at first, and all of a sudden I was like, we set aside $75,000 for a wedding. She goes, do I get that? No. That was for a big old party that we were going to celebrate your wedding, but you went and eloped, and I ain't a grandpa, so this is good. Yeah, I kid you not. And just for your guys' generation, you want to know how I found out my daughter got married?
Facebook.
Almost that bad. A text message.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, that's me. So my first teaching job was in Las Vegas. Okay? In Las Vegas. Does anyone know the most famous student that I've taught? So there's a short little blonde kid, big glasses.
Oh, tell me it's Justin Bieber.
Nope. No, it's not quite that big, but close. He was an incredible actor. He could dance and he could imitate anybody. And I had him in pre-calculus as a sophomore in Vegas, which is like 12 years advanced from math, because Vegas isn't really good. He'd sit in the front and he'd raise his hand, and every question was like, hypothetically, Mr. Stroop, this is what's going to take place. Well, that kid, has anyone watched the television show called Criminal Minds? Okay, Dr. Spencer Reed, his name is Matthew Gray Googler. He's one of my students. I had the goobs. Okay, you know who he is?
No.
All right. My second most famous student I had, his name is Schaefer Smith. Schaefer Smith. Like, dude, sir, I don't know this Schaefer Smith. Schaefer Smith is Neo.
From the movie?
No, not Nemo, Neo. Look up Neo on your phone. You think you could dance, rhythm and blues singer? Neyo. Huh? Neo? No.
What is that one? Oh, yeah.
Matrix? No. Did you find him?
I've seen this guy.
Do you know who he is?
Yeah.
Good looking black dude?
Yeah, I've seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
He
I taught him.
was-
I taught him. Yeah, if you don't know who the Goobs is, type in Matthew Gray Goobler. Hey friends, bring that book back tomorrow. Have a great day. I don't have an assignment for you today. I'm sorry. We'll have more fun tomorrow.